Hi, this is Luann from Rockin Book Reviews, and I'm so happy to be here today with Jeff Janke. Before becoming a children's author, Jeff is a manager of a mortgage company, plays the drums, and participates in a few sports activities. Oh, and in his spare time, he also writes scripts for movies and has actually produced one. But most importantly, above all this, he is a single father. And I commend you for all you do as a single father, and we'll get into that more. Please tell us a little bit about your life growing up, where you grew up, how many siblings you have, maybe a couple of fun activities or some special memories that have helped you become the person you are today.
Well, yeah, I love to talk about that. I do have one sibling. Her name is Jessica. She is one of the most wonderful people on the planet to me. She's a fantastic sister, mother, wife, and daughter to my father, and just an all-around great person. And so I was definitely fortunate to grow up with her in my life. We're 4.5 years apart, and we grew up mostly in our childhood was in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And even though I was born in California, I was raised in Florida until I was 13. And then the family moved back to California when I was 13 and spent most of my time there, other than living in Arizona, which now we're actually all in Arizona, pretty much, my main family. So, yeah, as far as growing up, I mean, I grew up in the 80s. I still love the 80s. I'm actually in my 80s garage right now, slash office. Uh, Feels like home to me, so it's always fun. But we had a lot of fun as kids. Always playing outside, doing sports. Grew up playing soccer and baseball and so forth. And I have a baseball family. My grandfather actually is in the Senior Hall of Fame for softball, and still continues to play at 92 years old. And
Wow,
I think he's 5 different teams right now. It's crazy.
that
He,
is amazing.
yeah, huge inspiration. So it's pretty cool. Um, yeah, but we always had fun, growing up, and I did taekwondo. I was really into like the Karate Kid back in the day, and still into it. Cobra Kai nowadays, right? And I got my black belt when I was 12 years old, and I think that was a big accomplishment. It helped me with confidence and discipline and stuff like that. Just belongingness. Yeah, it was great.
I think it sounds great. And going from Florida to California, with my husband being from Florida and me from the West, I know there's a lot of culture differences there. Was it like culture shock to you?
No, actually, it really wasn't because my family, most of my family was in California, so I would go out every spend the entire summer every year as a kid in California. So I had a whole separate group of friends, um, and it was fun coming to California. Kind of felt in a way natural. It's always tough, I think, when you move that far away from all your friends and everything you know. Um, I just always try to embrace the change and stay open and stay positive.
You sound like a very positive person. Was there any couple of instances in your growing up that inspired you or caused you to become the person you are today?
Yeah, I would say a lot of it had to do with the way my father, influenced me and raised me in different ways. Um, he ran his own. He was an entrepreneur, ran his own companies and so forth, and went to Harvard Business School. And he um, he would take me to see like Zig Ziglar when I was like 11 years old, and put me through like S training, which is now Landmark, and just different things that I think are more available today or more recognized today than they were back then. So I feel like I just had a different mentorship kind of growing up, and I was always taught different lessons and values that I just really took in, and I teach those same things to my daughter today. So
That's great. In your spare time, you write movies. uh,
that's fun to
what
write.
movie? Now, what was the title of the movie that you did actually make?
So yes, this idea. So the whole idea, I wrote a few movies before, and I kept telling myself I need to write a movie I can realistically pull off myself. And so I came up with this concept because I live in Lake Havasu City, Arizona. It's a spring break destination town. And so I came up with this idea of, three boys who travel from Oregon to Lake Havasu for spring break. And it's kind of like a bromance, romance, teen comedy, which I like stuff like that. It's fun. So I came up with this idea and I couldn't sleep. So I wrote throughout the night in my notes app on my phone, woke up and wrote the first draft of the movie, which was like 97 pages in like 3 days. And then I started casting the same week I wrote it, and which was kind of crazy. So I was headed to LA to produce this song for this girl I was doing a music video for. And I'm like, I'm going to hold the casting while I'm out there. I'm going for this, I'm going to make it happen. Less than a year later, I had a full director's cut. And then we ended up winning a couple awards at a film festival and got picked up. And, so then it was available kind of everywhere. We did like, I don't know, maybe 12 theaters throughout the US.
That is absolutely amazing. So are you hoping to make more films in the future?
Yeah, I have a couple. I have other ones that I've written, and one that I'm really passionate about. I just need to kind of rewrite it, and it's just kind of being in the right headspace to do that. You got to that passion has to kind of find you instead of you just kind of chasing it. It tends to work out better that way. Like for instance, I was hanging out with my dad and my sister. We're doing a little vacation together, and I was making my dad watch Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and because he'd never seen it, my sister and I love it. And I was like, I could easily write one of these, episodes or whatever. So they dared me to do it. So that night, I stayed up for a couple hours and I wrote an episode of Always Sunny in Philadelphia, which I think would be fantastic if they were to make it. But it's just like, something that inspires you. And if you find that drive and you're like kind of fueled, if you just follow that, sometimes great things can come of it.
It amazes me how brains like yours work. I have to muddle over things and remuddle. That is amazing to me. Okay. You mentioned that you are into self-improvement. What type of self-improvement classes or books or whatever have you taken?
Lots actually. Like I said, growing up, my father was the big mentor for self-improvement, like the way that I was raised and so forth, and my mindset and different things. Even when it came to like sales and stuff, learning that kind of stuff, and how you talk to people and treat people, and wanting for other people what they want for themselves and so forth. The two most recent things that I've done that were pretty challenging for me was after my divorce. I went through I was trying to find myself again and rebuild myself again because I had a couple businesses and my daughter and a home and all these things with my ex. And when all that kind of gets stripped away, you kind of have to refine yourself a little bit. So I went to this Tony Robbins seminar because I had read his books and stuff in the past, and I've done stuff. I've seen like Zig Ziglar and Brian Tracy and different things, like just anyone who would inspire me or was speaking to me at the time where I felt like I was open to it and could receive it. And I kind of forced myself to do this Tony Robbins event, and where I walked on the coals and the whole thing, and it was great. I was trying to be as open as I could. I did that, and then I also did a 10-day meditation retreat in noble silence where there's no talking, no eye contact, no phones, nothing. You're like fully disconnected, and it's the craziest thing when you hear your voice for the first time again. But I feel like I got a lot out of those two things, and it kind of propelled me back into the mortgage industry, which changed my life again for the better. Because my ex and I had a wedding photography business together, and we did really well with that, and a marketing company. And when all that was kind of taken away, I was kind of looking for something new. So, you just kind of go where life takes you and keep trying to find the inspiration.
And what it really is impressive to me is when I read your bios on and how involved you are in your daughter's life, even though you are now a single father. In what ways were you motivated to make that special time with her? And what are the most fun things you do with her?
Good question. So I think, from the moment, I knew I was having a baby. I wanted a girl so bad. And I got really into the pregnancy, actually created a whole pregnancy and parenting website called The Healthy Belly at the time, and a social network called doodles.com, which was like for like kind of like Facebook for your kid and for women who are pregnant. And it was like to create profiles for your child and track their milestones and all this stuff. And I think I just got so passionate about the idea of meeting my daughter And, actually, when I found out it was a girl, they put it up on this big screen and it says it's a girl and the whole thing. And I started crying, and it was "You Are So Beautiful" was playing. So that's kind of like that's the song I want to dance, with her at her wedding one day. Such a powerful song. Anyway, so I just been just so in love with her before she was even born, and just wanting to celebrate her life as much as I can with her and be the best influence I can. And now she's a teenager. She's 14 years old, and it's comes with different challenges and different attitudes and different things. So it's a little bit of an adjustment. But some of the fun things that I love doing with her is just being outside. We love playing catch together. We used to love playing hockey all the time. We're always active out in the streets, just playing. She likes to be a kid, and I love that about her. And I think that she gets that from her mom and I, and I encourage that 100%. So
I think too many kids don't really enjoy doing things like that anymore. They're in on their computers. If it's like you give them a gift now, and if it's not something to do with a computer, they don't want it. I thought, how sad. But anyway, you wrote a children's book? There was a special reason you did that. Now, will you share with us?
Absolutely. So I won't forget the day. I can remember what I was doing. I was taking a walk, and my ex called me and says, "Hey, I think we're going to have a talk with River about Santa this year," because her birthday's in November. So she was turning 9, and Christmas obviously follows right after. So I was like, "Oh, geez." And she's like, "Can you think of anything special? Any like cool ideas, anything we can do?" And I said, "All right, give me a little bit." So about a half an hour later, I called her and I had this idea, 2 different ideas. And one of them was the book idea. And I already had the name and the whole concept in my head, called Secret Santa Claus Club. And the book could be like a story about a young girl from ages 4 through, it ended up being through like 10, that, kind of depicts her memories of each Christmas and some of the special moments that we all share and feel during Christmas time, and how your brain starts to recognize, hey, this things are not quite adding up, or it doesn't quite make sense, or you're just getting a different feel for the magic of Christmas, and how first we believe and then we become part of the magic. You believe, then we become. And so I thought this could be a great transitional book where she's welcomed into a special club, and I gave her this certificate, and this whole thing. And it was emotional and it was beautiful. And she was very appreciative of the way that she learned. And that was the motivation. She was my motivation. I wanted it to be special and not just a talk, or, hearing it from some child that's going to ruin it. And she's sad, and she should hear it from us when she's ready to hear it. And she already is starting to feel those feelings, and it should be a special transition. And that's why I created it.
You actually wrote this a few years ago then?
Yeah, I actually wrote it when she was, the idea started when she was 9 years old. She's 14 now. It was like 4 years ago. And exactly 4 years ago when this kind of came up. And then we bought ourselves another year. My ex called me. She's like, "Hey, I think let's wait another year. I think we have another year." So I was like, "Okay, cool. We're getting away with it this year. This will give me a year to get the book done and the whole thing." And, which I did. And then, I have close friends of mine that love the concept of the book and wanted to publish it. So they asked me if they could work with me on it, and we'll hire a good illustrator, and we'll do it right, and put it out there for the world. And that's what we decided to do. We felt like it's something that is kind of needed, as a parent. You're like, when this time comes and your child's like, questioning the belief in Santa Claus, like, how do you handle that? What's the best way? Is there a way? Like, what have other people done? And I wanted to do something special and unique. And I thought, well, this should be shared, so this club can grow, and the magic can remain special, and we can continue that, and we can hold children accountable. So when they're part of the club, they can't ruin the magic for anyone else, and they get to still take part in all the magic and be part of it, and feel it for themselves still, and just carry on the traditions.
So you went the step further and created a Secret Santa Club. Now, how is that going, and what inspired you to do that?
Well, I was just like, I felt like, hey, if you're, hold on, so sorry, I'm getting a call there. You want to feel like, hey, there's something special, I think, on the other side of this, and it was like, you need to make it special. I wanted to make it special for River, my daughter, and even I have a adopted daughter that because I'm getting married in April and remarried, and I'm very excited about that. And she has a daughter who's 8, turning 9 in January, and so we're talking about possibly giving her the book next year, same time frame as my daughter. Go figure. And because we see those things, right? But it's like you want to make it special. So if you're a part of something special, and you're part of the club now, and to me that I don't know, if you're part of a club, that just seems like that's kind of a cool thing, or can be a cool thing. You're part of something different, bigger than yourself, and that's why I created it to be that way. So let's all be part of the club together.
Well, I believe in Santa still, and I told my children when they stopped believing in Santa, he stopped coming, so they all believe in Santa. So
exactly.
But yeah, I think it's important to, even if you're not Christian, to get involved and create that spirit for those around you
I
of
agree.
giving and of service that the whole idea of Santa is built on.
I agree 100%.
Now tell me, how in the world, as busy as you are, did you manage to have so much time to spend with your daughter?
When something is important to you do everything you can. I was raised where my dad always told me, and you can't get time back, you can't get memories and moments back, you can't, you miss a baseball game, you miss a hockey game, or whatever it is, for your kid, like you can't get that back. And so I was raised that way, and to me it was so important to do whatever I had to do to find a job or a career or whatever that I could make the time. And whatever that means. Right now I have a long distance commute just to see my daughter, which is really rough. It's been the hardest transition for me. And she was here over the weekend. We had a great time, and we already have plans for our Christmas together, and we're very excited about that. And we FaceTime a lot, and spend as much quality time as we can together, because if it's important to you, you got to make it work. You got to find a way to do it.
Thank you. And also, it's interesting that you wanted a daughter. Most men I've talked to want a son first. Why a daughter?
I don't know. I just always pictured daddy's little girl, and she's as funny because she's always been more mommy's girl. But I mean, don't get me wrong, we've always been super close. She's always had a strong attachment to her mom, and I've always fought for her affection since day one. Always wanted to change the diaper, always wanted to hold her and carry her everywhere and do stuff, and she always wanted her mom more than me. Still seems to be that way, but she's still the love of my life, and will never change no matter what. She knows that. If you ask her how much, she'll tell you too much.
There's hope, because after 5 boys, my daughter had a girl, and that's what her husband had always wanted, a girl. And he thought, well, she's going to be my little girl, because my daughters are that way with their father. And he was sorely awakened, because she didn't want hardly anything to do with him at first. She wanted everything her mom, and she clung to her mother and was really close to her mother. But now she is grown up and in college, and her father have a very strong relationship, and now she is daddy's little girl. So
that's it. It's a special bond. I mean, when she saw me just this past weekend, she was crying and holding me and telling me how much she missed me, and that means the world to me. That how much she cares, how strong our bond is, and stuff like that. So
it is. It's hard on children with divorce, but it sounds like you and your wife are handling it well.
Yeah, me and my ex, I think we do a good job.
First, before we go there, tell us about the book. Describe a little bit about a little bit more in detail.
Yeah, so the book basically follows, I'll show you here's the cover. So I've had this idea for the cover, the SSCC, Secret Santa Claus Club, right in Santa's belt. And I wanted it to feel very royal and like treasure, and be very classic all at the same time. And the illustrations in this, I just love, well, if you can see.
Oh my, yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, it's very beautiful. And it follows the child a girl's perspective from each of her Christmases and the memories that she has of each one from age 4 all the way through age 10. And how when it gets closer to 10, she starts to question her belief in Santa and how her parents welcome her into, basically sit her down and have a conversation with her about it. And it's kind of like a beautiful, heartwarming conversation where she learns the true magic and meaning of Christmas, which is, giving and being part of the magic and keeping the magic alive and the spirit of Christmas alive and not ruining it for others. And there's a list of responsibilities when they get welcome to the Secret Santa Claus Club. That comes with responsibilities, and part of those responsibilities is carrying on the same traditions and respecting all the Santas and leaving milk and cookies and not ruining the belief for any believers,
I think that's a wonderful book. Okay, and I'm looking forward to getting mine, and I'll be reading it, seeing all the good things I can learn from it.
I hope you love it. I hope you enjoy it.
And I will do all I can to help you promote it, because I think this is really needed in the world today.
I agree. Thank you.
What are your goals for the next 5 years? What would you like to accomplish?
It's hard to say right now. I want to, I'm excited to get remarried, and I'm getting remarried in April in Mexico, and just the two of us. It's going to be really excited about that. So that's first. Other than that, I just want to. I'd love to find a way to spend more time and be closer in proximity to my daughter River, and be more so I can be more part of her life. Whether that means trying to retire early or finding a job where I have more flexible time. So that's something I definitely I know that there's going to be some passion projects that come up. Whether it's another book. Actually, I have another one written, totally different subject. And so that's something I'm planning on, finishing probably.
Another children's book?
I have a whole children's book idea that I'm really excited about too. So,
but this other book you've written, what is it about?
So the book that it's actually out right now. It's on Amazon, but it's geared around being a loan officer in the mortgage industry. Yeah, it's nothing that's completely different than this. Has more of like just understanding that line of work and how to be effective at it. But I just love following the passions. I just want to have a happy, healthy life. Full of as much as many good memories as possible.
Do you think in the future you'll be writing other fiction books for like in a different genre?
It's possible.
We'll be watching.
I'd like to get out. I think it could do really well.
That sounds wonderful.
Really fun concept.
That's wonderful. Okay, have you got any final comments before we leave?
No, I just want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, right?
And one person will be very happy because they will receive a copy of your new book, Secret Santa Claus Club.
You got it.
So we'll have the details on my blog, rockinbookreviews.com, and you can enter there. And you have a wonderful Christmas too. And we wish you really a lot of success on your book.
Thank you so much. That means the world. I appreciate it very much.
Okay. And we hope that you will all search the universe through books. Goodbye now.